Good evening. It is 7:36. I want to call to order the December 12th meeting of the Norwalk Common Council. If you will rise and join the pledge of allegiance to our nation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You. Dixon, please call the roll.
Mr. Burnett,
Present.
Mr. Goldstein,
Here.
Mr. Lopez,
Here.
Ms. Najolski Eichner,
Present.
Ms. Smith. Here. Ms. Ayers. Present. Mr. Seed,
Present.
Mr. Wiggins,
Here.
Ms. Young. Here. Ms. McMurr,
Present.
Ms. Murray,
Here.
Ms. Dunn. Here. Mr. Sutton,
Present.
Mr. Frere,
Here.
Ms. Shanahan.
Here.
15, we have a forum.
At 15, we have a quorum. Next, first item on the agenda is acceptance of the minutes of the regular meeting of November 28th, 2023. Do I have a motion? Ms. Smith, are there any corrections, deletions, omissions? Seeing none, all in favor of the minutes as submitted? Unanimous, thank you. Any opposition? Any abstentions? Next item is approval of the minutes of the special meeting of December 2nd, 2023. Do I have a motion? Mr. Burnett, are there any corrections, deletions, or omissions? Ms. Najolski Eichner.
Thank you so much, Mayor. On page 3 of those minutes, under 4, appointment of committees, there are, I believe, a couple of misspellings and inconsistencies in the names of our council members. I just want to flag them for correction. In particular, I noticed that Mr. Seed is James instead of Jalen. And I believe some council members have first names and others do not, so consistency would be helpful. Thank you.
Any other corrections or deletions or omissions? All in favor of the minutes as corrected? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We now have public participation. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to address the council? No sign up. All
No sign up.
right. Mr. James, is there anybody on line or in Zoom that wants to? Okay. Have her unmute herself, please.
Good evening. It just takes a little while for the being promoted to panelist. I'll start my video. I'm going to try. There you go. All right. Good evening. For the record, my name is Diane Lauricella. I'm not sure why it is yellow. It looks like forest fires of the past months on my computer. Tonight I have a few items on the agenda. I just wanted to ask a question and make comment. I'm going to start at the end, section 7, item 9A and B, relating to the dog pound. When I saw the price tag of $250,000, I unfortunately did not have time to listen to the recording of the Recreation and Parks of the Land Use and Building Management Committee's discussion. But I do recall in a time when even I think Rick McQuaid was a council member, there had been a major renovation and rebuilding of the dog pound. So if there's any chance that, and also I would like to make sure that if there is a structure that you decide to spend $250,000 on, that it is run by renewable energy. There would be no excuse for it not to, in my opinion. Number 7, section 7, item 7 of Land Use and Building Management. 98 South Main Street. I know it's terrific that we've identified money from DECD. However, I don't think that should be a part of the plan unless and until renewable energy is utilized to power up and heat and cool this particular building. I have been on record for years trying and begging to have that be part of the plan. Item C under Public Works for the 2 plow trucks. Now, I hope that the committee looked at the reason why we continue to look at sole source proprietors, but at the very least, did anyone look to see whether electric vehicles, the plow trucks now could be hybrid or electric? It is on the market, and I wanted just to know if someone had even looked at that opportunity. And lastly, I saved for last is your listed items of appointments. I first wanted to look at the Planning and Zoning regular member appointment, Mr. Chapin. I don't know if this is a typo, but I noticed that he was listed as to represent District A, but he lives in District E on Maywood. And I wanted to know, had the 2 District A council people been given the chance to put up a name for regular member of the zoning commission? Mr. Chapin is currently an alternate, and I've enjoyed his comments. This has nothing to do with him. It has to do with making sure all of our districts are equitably and properly represented. Lastly, and I'm not sure what the status of this is, but I have sent an email that I sent to Ms. Dixon earlier this evening or late afternoon, that you consider removing Jane Reedy as a member to be reappointed from the BAA with the reason relating to the appearance of impropriety or the appearance of special treatment. So I ask that you consider that. Please remove her and do
3 minutes.
do an investigation, and I think we'll be able to go forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other person? Did you sign in?
No, sorry.
Yep, you can sign in on the sheet up there. And for the record, if you could please state your name and address.
Sure thing. My name is Chapin Bryce. My address is 16 East Avenue, Norwalk, Connecticut. So I just wanted to come up and speak because I saw on the agenda that my address was represented incorrectly. I'm in fact in District A at 16 East Ave. So that's all. Thank you, Ms. Loricella, for raising that concern.
Thank you. If you want to come in and sign up on the sign-in sheet. And if you please state your name and address for the record, please.
Julia Moore, 15 Madison Street, Norwalk, Connecticut. So I'm here tonight to just shed a little light on the item, I believe G1, line G1 on the nonprofit status of funding. I just wanted to come tonight just to actually show my face. Longtime resident of Norwalk, Connecticut. I do run a nonprofit for young ladies called Wild Trap that services young ladies here in Norwalk, Bridgeport, and Stamford, Connecticut. I'm here about the funding, how we get dispersed. I just want to, share that, there are minority nonprofits here that we are doing our best.
Is there an item on the agenda that you're
Yes.
speaking about?
Yeah, line G, line 1. For the funding. That I saw where like Norwalk Acts get funding. And I feel like, I've noticed a few other, as well as like the Carver. I just came tonight just to, address the fact that I think some of us get overlooked for funding or get denied funding. and we have no idea, well, I don't, as CEO of the nonprofit, to why, when funding come in, such of that nature, that how come it does not get dispersed, or the criteria, what are the criteria to receive funding? You know, because I just feel like it's unbalanced to where certain things criteria we have to go through to get funded and get denied compared to, other nonprofits who get funding just as fast. So I want to come tonight to find out what is the actual criteria of getting funding for our programs without being denied every time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think this gentleman is also looking to speak. If you would sign in.
Good evening. My name is Tristan Fields. My address is 9 Murray Street, zip code 06851. Similarly to the young woman who spoke before me, I had a question about line item G1 in terms of extending that funding to the organization. And just, I also run an organization here in Norwalk called HELP that helps students prepare for college through SAT prep and college tours and one-on-one counseling. So just looking for opportunities and trying to figure out what the criteria was, if there was like some sort of funding call for this or a call for proposals, and like how we can make sure that organizations like mine and YL Trapped can be considered in these. So I just had a question on like how that decision was made and what opportunities are upcoming so we can make sure that we're working together to support our neediest citizens.
Thank you. Is there anybody else online that wishes to speak on an item on the agenda? And then we will close public session. That brings us to resignations and appointments. First is a resignation of Bryce Chapin from the Planning and Zoning Alternate. And now we have appointments to the Board of Assessment Appeals. For Ashley Petrides, do I have a motion? Mr. Freyer?
Ashley is a licensed realtor. She's worked for William Ravis since 2014. She's being put up for alternate on the Board of Assessment Appeals. She's worked on both sides of the buyer and seller markets in her office, and she's also been very active in teaching and mentoring new agents in the agency. And she's very experienced in that she's been annually running about $6 to $8 million in sales every year. I think particularly in the current environment where we're going through evaluation, she'll be an excellent addition to the board.
Thank you. Any further comments or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Next, we have Frank Ehrlich for appointment to the Board of Health. Is that Dr. Frank Ehrlich? Ms. Smith?
Yes, thank you. I would like to move the appointment of Dr. Ehrlich to the Board of Health. Dr. Ehrlich has extensive experience in the health field, heading up numerous hospitals throughout the Northeast, and will be a great addition to the Board of Health, and I support his nomination.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have Jessica Edward, Commission on the Status of Women. Do I have a motion? Ms. Young?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move Ms. Jessica Edwards forward for the Commission on the Status of Women. I've had the pleasure of knowing Ms. Edwards for some time now, and I'm just impressed with what she has accomplished. She owns her own business that deals with seniors, And I think she will be a great addition to the status of women, the Commission on the Status of Women. I'm just excited that we're able to get some younger ideas to the table. And so I think as a council, that is one of the things that we should strive to do, is to make sure that we engage our young community. So I'm pleased that we're moving her forward.
And she's a recent small business owner.
Yes,
25 Van Zandt Street, and I'm
Kiva,
quite
she took-
impressed with her.
She actually took part in the Kiva program and was able to build her own business. And so kudos to her.
Any further discussion or comment? Mr. Goldstein?
I just want to add, I found Jessica to be remarkably conscientious and caring and deeply intelligent, and someone who honestly inspires me. And I find her, I was at the recent celebration of the innovations program recipients, of which Jessica's business, I think, received the highest amount of any applicant. And she's just someone who's an outstanding member of this community, and no doubt will do a wonderful job on the commission for this task.
Further comment or discussion? She has more energy than anybody I've ever met.
She's 20, so she's got a lot of energy.
Okay, seeing no further comment, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions, motion carries unanimously. Now we have Mr. Robert Raleigh appointing to the pension board. Do I have a motion?
I have a motion.
Mr. Freyer?
I've known Bob Rowley for a number of years now. He's probably one of the most dynamic people. He's diverse background, I might say eclectic background. Will make him an excellent asset to the pension board. Just briefly, his background is that he started his career as a psychologist. And by picking up different elements of behavioral science, he then turned that into being one of the pioneers of AI systems working for Sperry. Very successful at that, and not satisfied with just getting into the beginnings of AI and psychological behavioral experience. He then capitalized all those that experience that he did have, and he moved into the world of media, including TV, marketing, consumer research, and so forth. I think that Bob, wherever he is, he seeks to understand and really fully understand the interaction of personal traits, innovation tactics, and outcomes that they achieve. I think somebody with his background will be excellent for our pension board.
Any further comment or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Now we have Bryce Chapin.
It's Chapin Bryce.
Chapin Bryce.
Chapin Bryce. It's wrong.
I'm sorry, Bryce.
His first name is Chapin Bryce.
I'm sorry.
It's backwards.
Chapin.
Yeah.
Okay, Bryce Chapin.
No,
Planning and-
Chapin Bryce.
Oh, Chapin Bryce. That's Bryce is his last name. Okay. All the others have first names
Yeah.
first. So Chapin Bryce, Planning and Zoning Commission Regular. Do I have a motion? Mr. Goldstein?
Yes, I'd like to make a move for Chapin Bryce to be appointed as a regular member of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Chapin, I think, was appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission, I think, a little less than a year ago, I think pretty much at the beginning of this year. And in speaking with his colleagues about how he's done, they really give glowing reviews. He's someone who's is diligent and caring and gives real time and effort to the work and asks very thoughtful questions. He is an engineer by training and is someone who, as I have heard, has really hit the ground running, and in knowing him personally, have no doubt that he will make really wonderful contributions to or continue to make wonderful contributions to the Planning and Zoning Commission, this time as a regular member.
Thank you. Any further comment or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we have reappointments. The first one would be Ms. Doris Ash, Board of Assessment Appeals Regular. Do I have a motion? Mr. Joseph Eichner?
Thank you. So I'm happy to move the reappointment of Doris Ash, who was a longtime realtor in Norwalk as well as a teacher in Stamford, and brings substantial expertise in the real estate market here in Norwalk. And so we really appreciate her service, given that this is a year of reassessment. I'm sure that she will be doing her volunteer work.
Thank you. Any further comment or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 reappointments to the Board of Assessment Appeals alternate. We have Megan Douglas Reedy, Susan Dunlap, Josephine Dupree, Judith Hires, Harriet Patrides, and Jane Reedy. If there's no objection, we'll move them as a group. Do I have a motion? Mr. Julski-Eichner?
Thank you. So again, it's my gratitude to appreciate this group of experienced real estate professionals who are volunteering to serve as alternates on the Board of Assessment Appeals. And we really do appreciate people who have this expertise stepping up to share their time with the city.
Thank you. Further comment? Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Ms. Dunn is opposed and everybody else voted in favor.
Okay.
Next, we have Mr. Norman Weinberger, Dr. Norman Weinberger, appointment to the Board of Health. Do I have a motion? Mr. Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move Dr. Weinberger's name for reappointment to the Board of Health. Dr. Weinberger has been a trusted member of the Board of Health for several years. He currently serves as the medical advisor for Norwalk and Westport Public Schools. His several years of experience and best practices will continue to be a great value add to the Board of Health. So we're fortunate to have him on the board, and I fully support his reappointment.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. We have 3 zoning commission regular appointments or reappointments. Nick Cantor, Galen Wells, and Hector Patches. If you can have a motion. Mr. Goldstein.
Yeah, I'd like to, I don't know why I keep wanting to say I like the motion, which is not as exciting. To support the reappointment of Nick Cantor, Galen Wells, and Hector Patches as regular members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, just a little on each of them. Nick, and having served on the Planning and Zoning Commission with Nick and Galen, I found both of them to be remarkably conscientious. Nick is someone who I know many of us have talked to about green development and really thinking about how to do really sustainable development and all that. And he's absolutely been a leader on that score, and it's just a really good guy to boot. And Galen Wells is someone who I think a lot of us know, and is someone who is conscientious, a deeply analytical mind, and someone who I think is very good at seeing through the heart of a lot of challenging engineering and legal issues, and someone who I served with on the Planning and Zoning Commission, who I deeply valued. And Hector is someone who is newer to the Planning and Zoning Commission, but has been on P&Z, I think, for at least a year now, and is someone who has provided a new and refreshing perspective to that commission, and is someone who is a small business owner here in the community, and who is a really valued voice. So I enthusiastically support all 3 of these nominations.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mr. Seed?
Just wanted to highlight, we are proud in District A that we do have Hector being reappointed, but we also have Darius Williams. We do have 2 strong advocates. He's not being reappointed, but just for clarification, we do have 2 strong voices from District A on planning and zoning that we are proud of, and proud to put this meeting.
Ms. Ayers? Oh, I thought you raised your hand.
Oh, no, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any further comment or discussion? Ms. Dunn?
Through my attending a lot of meetings, especially on Zoom lately, I wholeheartedly would reappoint Nick and Hector. For non-personal reasons based on performance, I would not vote for Galen Wells.
Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, that does the appointments and reappointments. Under mayor's remarks, I just have a few. Tomorrow night, we have at 5 p.m. a menorah lighting at Norwalk City Hall right here on the front lawn near the Christmas tree. We're hosting our menorah lighting ceremony with Rabbi Hecht of Beth Israel Chabad to celebrate the 7th night of Hanukkah. We had a menorah lighting tonight at 50 Washington Street. And this will be our 3rd menorah lighting. And I think I've had 6 or 7 Christmas tree lightings. So we have a lot of lighting going on. Pancake breakfast with Frosty. This Saturday, we're inviting residents to join the city of Norwalk for a pancake breakfast with Frosty the Snowman in our community room from 8:30 to 10 a.m. It'll be a wonderful opportunity for children to take photos with Frosty the Snowman while enjoying wonderful pancakes. We all like pancakes. We are having on December 29th at 5 p.m. Thank you, Darlene Young, for helping to organize this event. We're having invite the community to help us celebrate Kwanzaa in the community room. I think last year, we had that group come in. It was absolutely entertaining and just absolutely wonderful event. I'm sorry?
They're from Charlotte, North Carolina.
They're from North Carolina.
Originally from.
Yeah.
But they're silent.
Yeah, very good. And last but not least, we're looking for people, hopefully, especially Norwalk residents, to take the firefighter exam on Saturday, January 13th. We're holding an entry-level exam. Registration for the exam closes on Sunday, December 31st. Applicants must be 18 years of age, and the city encourages candidates of all cultures and backgrounds to apply to join the ranks of our brave Norwalk Fire Department. And we, like I say, we encourage people from the city of Norwalk to apply. That is all my comment, and now I'll turn it over to the council president, Ms. Young.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're going to move on to the common council committees, and reading the consent calendar for this evening is Council Member Nicole Ayers.
Thank you, Madam President. Item number 7A, Public Safety and General Government Committee. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Reeling, to execute in any and all documents, instruments, and amendments thereto as may be necessary to apply for and accept grant funding for the 2024 CT Department of Transportation DUI enforcement grant in the amount up to $90,000 pursuant to such grant funding. 2, authorize the police chief, James Ross, to execute any and all documents, instruments, and amendments thereto as may be necessary to apply for and accept grant funding from the 2024 Connecticut Department of Transportation DUI enforcement grant in the amount up to $90,000 pursuant to such grant funding. 3, authorize the purchasing agent to issue purchase order to Firematic Supply Company, Inc., Yaphank, New York, for the purchase of one rescue apparatus from a HGAC-BUY contract FS 19VD13 for a sum not to exceed $1,399,914. Account noted. Authorize the purchasing agent to issue purchase order to Freightliner of Hartford, East Hartford, Connecticut, for the purchase of one rescue support truck from Connecticut State Contract Number 14PSX0239 for a sum not to exceed $168,546. Account noted. B, Recreation, Parks, and Cultural Affairs Committee. 1A, Technical Corrections. Account year change from 2023 to 2024. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Reeling, to enter into contract with Hending Tennis LLC, project number 4305, tennis pickleball and basketball court renovation for an amount not to exceed $780,994. Account noted. 1C, Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rayling, to issue an amendment to the contract with Hending Tennis LLC, tennis pickleball and basketball court renovation for additional request items in an amount not to exceed $43,180. Account noted. 2, authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to issue change orders to Hinding Tennis LLC, project number 4305, tennis pickleball and basketball court renovation, an amount not to exceed $71,800. Accounts noted. Technical correction, addition of an account. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rayling, to execute an agreement with TD and Sons, Inc. for the project RNP 2021-1. Ryan McMahon Athletic Field conversion for a sum not to exceed $868,065. Base bid $288,780. Alternate 1-spotlighting $77,000. Alternate -3 protective netting. Accounts noted. C, Public Works Committee. 1, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rayling, to execute any and all documents necessary to accept a 63 square foot sidewalk and 281 square foot roadway easement located at 32 9th Street. A 430 square foot sidewalk and 179 square foot road and easement located at 41 9th Street. And a 75 square foot sidewalk and a 2 square foot roadway easement located at 22 North Street in connection with planning and zoning application number 2022-28, Hamspur 39 9th Street Property LLC, 32 9th Street. 2, authorize the purchasing agent to authorize the sole source purchase order to Gabrielli Truck Sales for the purchase of one 2025 Mack GR42F plow truck for a sum not to exceed $305,670.10. Account noted. 3, authorize the purchasing agent to authorize a sole source purchase order to Freightliner of Hartford for the purchase of one 2024 M2 106 plus plow truck for a sum not to exceed $197,041.10. Account noted. 4, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rayling, to execute the First Amendment to the October 24, 2023 agreement between the City of Norwalk and Colonia Masonry Concrete and Asphalt Paving LLC for project TMP 2023-3 concrete curbs and sidewalks on Royden Avenue for a sum not to exceed $170,000. Account noted. Technical correction of the Common Council action of July 12, 2022. Item Roman numeral 7.B.3 for an on-call agreement between the City of Norwalk and Elmstead Tree and Shrub Care Company LLC and Minuteman Land Services LLC for the supply and planting of trees and shrubs. Task order not to exceed $700,000 in the aggregate between the two companies. Added accounts designated for the Norwalk Tree account. Account number 380000-4804 and account numbers 380000-5790. Accounts noted. 6, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rayling, to execute the First Amendment to the April 12, 2021 agreement for the household hazardous waste collection between the City of Norwalk and Clean Harbors Environmental Services, Inc. Project 4079 for an amount not to exceed $64.90 per household and $39 per half household. Account noted. 7A, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rayling, to execute the agreement between the City of Norwalk and M. Rodano, Inc. for project DRG 2023-3 on-call drainage improvement at various locations for a sum not to exceed $1,020,060 with an option to extend for 2 additional terms for 1 year each. Accounts noted. 7B, authorize the Chief of Operations and Public Works to execute orders on the contract between the City of Norwalk and M. Rodano, Inc. for project DRG 2023-3 on-call drainage improvements at various locations for a sum not to exceed $102,006. Accounts noted. 8, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Railing, to execute an agreement between the city of Norwalk and Al Engineers, Inc. for Project PSC 2023-1 on-call surveying and mapping services in connection with various projects for the city of Norwalk. The agreement is for a period of 1 year at a sum not to exceed $200,000 with an option to extend for 2 additional terms for 1 year each. Accounts noted. D, Land Use and Building Management Committee. 8, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Railing, to execute an agreement with Downs Construction Company LLC as the construction manager for the Cranberry Park Gallagher Mansion Improvement Project. Terms of the agreement shall include pre-construction services, $49,300, CM fixed fees, 2.5%, CM contingency, 5%, balance reverted to the city at project completion, general conditions fee, $581,539. Actual amount to be determined at the time of the GMP. Subsequent to trade contractors bidding, final GMP amendments will be submitted to the Common Council for approval. Funds for this agreement are available for the state DECD grant. Account noted. E, Economic and Community Development Committee. 2, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Railing, to execute an agreement between the city of Norwalk and the Connecticut Department of Transportation, CTDOT, to receive $800,000 in 2023 Community Connectivity Grant construction funding related to the Hospital Hill Village Safety enhancements. F, Financial Claims Committee. 1, approve the allocation of $3,320,918 as special capital appropriations funds for the city's 40% share of the project costs in compliance with state HVAC grant application requirements for Bryant Man High School HVAC improvement project. This special capital appropriation shall be funded through $3,320,918 of authorized but uninsured general obligation bonds or notes of the city. 2, approve the allocation of $1,330,900 in special capital appropriations for funds for the city 40% share of the project costs in compliance with state HVAC grant application requirement for Brookside Elementary School HVAC improvement project. This special capital appropriation shall be funded through $1,330,900 of authorized but unissued general obligation bond or notes of the city. 3, approve the allocation of $1,650,885 in special capital appropriations fund for the city's 40% share of the project costs in appliance with state HVAC grant application requirements for Marvin Elementary School HVAC improvement project. This special capital appropriation shall be funded through $1,650,085 of the authorized but unissued general obligation bonds or notes of the city. 4, approve the allocation of $1,210,206 in special capital appropriation funds for the city 40% share of project costs in compliance with state HVAC grant application requirements for Silver Mine Elementary School HVAC improvement project. This special capital appropriation shall be funded through $1,210,206 of authorized but unissued general obligation bonds or notes of the city. 5, approve the allocation of $4,263,447 in special capital appropriations fund for the city 40% share of the project cost in compliance with state's HVAC grant application requirements for Row A Elementary School HVAC improvement project. The special capital appropriation shall be funded through $4,663,447 of authorized but unissued general obligation bonds or notes of the city. 6, approve the allocation of $2,584,750 in special capital appropriations funds for the city's 40% share of the project cost in compliance with state's HVAC grant application requirement for Merrimack Elementary School HVAC improvement project. This special capital appropriation shall be funded through $2,586,750 of authorized but uninsured general obligation bonds or notes of the city. Thus ends the reading of the consent calendar.
Very well done. Need a drink of water now? You need some water now?
Got it.
I was skip along.
I'm out of stop.
So you've heard the consent calendar as read by Council Member Ayers. Call to vote on that. Signify all in favor, please signify by raising your hands. Is that unanimous? Are you raising your hand? Unanimous. Yep.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Now we go to Land Use and Building Management Committee, I believe. Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Number 1, resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes the Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the HVAC IAQ grant at the Brian McMahon High School. Resolved that the Land Use and Building Management Committee of the Norwalk Common Council is hereby established as the building committee about the HVAC IAQ grant at the Brian McMahon High School. Resolved that Norwalk Common Council authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the HVAC IAQ grant at Brian McMahon High School. 2, resolved that the Common Council.
You want to move them all together?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
all together. Resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes the Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the HVAC IAQ grant at Brookside Elementary School. Resolved that the Land Use and Building Management Committee of Norwalk Common Council is hereby established as the building committee about the HVAC IAQ grant at the Brookside Elementary School. Resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the HVAC IAQ grant at the Brookside Elementary School. 3, I'll be moving through item 6, Mayor. 3, resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes the Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the HVAC IAQ grant at the Marvin Elementary School. Resolved that the Land Use and Building Management Committee of the Norwalk Common Council is hereby established as the building committee about the HVAC IAQ grant at Marvin Elementary School. Resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the HVAC IAQ grant at Marvin Elementary School. 4, resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes the Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the HVAC IAQ grant at Silvermine Elementary School. Resolved that the Land Use and Building Management Committee of the Norwalk Common Council is hereby established as the building committee about the HVAC IAQ grant at the Silvermine Elementary School. Resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the HVAC IAQ grant at Silvermine Elementary School. 5, resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes the Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services and to accept or reject a grant for the HVAC IAQ grant at Merrimack Elementary School. Resolved that the Land Use and Building Management Committee of Norwalk Common Council is hereby established as the building committee about the HVAC IAQ grant at Merrimack Elementary School. Resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the HVAC IAQ grant at Merrimack Elementary School. 6, resolve that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes the Norwalk Board of Education to apply to the Commissioner of Administrative Services to accept or reject a grant for the HVAC IAQ grant at the Rowayton Elementary School. Resolve that the Land Use and Building Management Committee of Norwalk Common Council is hereby established as the building committee about the HVAC IAQ grant at the Rowayton Elementary School. Resolved that the Norwalk Common Council authorizes at least the preparation of schematic drawings and outline specifications for the HVAC IAQ grant at the Rowayton Elementary School. I would like to move those items and say a few words, if I may.
You have the floor.
So we are aware that Norwalk Public Schools has been working diligently to increase HVAC in all of our schools. It's an expensive process, and the state does not normally reimburse for HVAC work. We do want to see all of our schools air conditioned. And so with this grant, the state of Connecticut is allowing cities and towns to apply for grants. It's a special legislation by the state to apply for these grants at their current reimbursement. And for us, that's 60%. So this is an extraordinary opportunity to get our schools air conditioned. So our building department with Alan Lowe and Norwalk Public Schools have worked together to prioritize the schools that will need to be done regardless. And so this allows for us to apply for these grants, and through the Finance and Claims Committee, as was read and we approved in the consent calendar, $14,360,000, $306 will be set aside in special appropriations to meet our 40%. If we do not receive the grants, if Norwalk Public Schools does not receive the grants, the funds will not be spent. But these schools were prioritized. And so we have Alan Lowe here to speak on behalf, about this project and to answer any questions anyone has.
Anybody have any questions to ask of Mr. Lowe?
I don't have a question.
Ms. Negussie-Eichner.
So I just want to extend my thanks to Alan Lowe and to these building and facilities folks at the school for pulling this together. As someone whose child was unable to attend school for several days in September due to the heat. I'm really grateful to everyone for prioritizing this project. I'm really grateful to the state for offering this opportunity. As you see, even at a 40% reimbursement, these are very expensive projects. And so we really appreciate the state for recognizing the importance of getting our students, even at 60% reimbursement for us, 40% for us to have to pay for it. They're very expensive. And so I'm very grateful to the state and everyone who worked hard at the state level to get these reimbursements available for our students. As climate change hits us harder and harder, this will happen more and more to our students if we don't have this kind of HVAC system. So thank you to everyone who's worked on this.
Further comment or questions for Mr. Lowe? Mr. Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just quickly, I just wanted to mention, this work is covering 6 schools. There's still several schools that have work that needs to be done, and those schools will not be forgotten. We will look at alternate ways to address those schools. So I just wanted to create some level of comfort that this is the beginning and not the end. And we will continue to look at the schools that are not on this list to have HVAC work completed as well.
Thank you. Further questions or comment? Ms. Negussie-Eichner.
Just to piggyback on Mr. Burnett's comments, I also did want to thank everyone who has appropriated money for the schools that were already done. So again, I want parents to understand this is a process we have been engaged in. Schools have been done over the last several years. So it is very much, there's a method to the work here. And I really am grateful to everyone who has worked on getting them funded in prior years so we can move through that.
Okay. Any questions or comment? Ms. Jen McMurray.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to reiterate what some of my colleagues have said and add to that. I think this shows our commitment to really addressing the HVAC issues that we've had in some of the schools and moving our schools into the 21st century if they haven't been already. And I really appreciate this on behalf of the staff and the students. Even the schools that have HVAC systems in them, some of them are antiquated. And so we're working very hard in whatever way we can to improve those. And I just want to show that we are listening to the parents, we are listening to the concerns of the students and the staff, and we are working on that diligently, and I thank everyone for taking part in that. So thank you.
Further comments or discussion? Questions? I want to thank Alan Lowe for working so hard on this. You know, it's been a long time that we've been talking about air conditioning for the schools. And I can't imagine how uncomfortable it is sitting in a school at the end of June or the middle of June and it's 85 degrees outside and there's no air conditioning. So this is something that's been coming for a long time. I want to thank our council. I want to thank all the people that are working to make this happen. It's finally happening because they've been talking about it for 25 years. And now we're finally getting this done. So this is really a great program, and I hope that we get all the grants that the Board of Education is going to be applying for. So, thank you. So seeing no more comments or questions, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Smith.
Item 7, approve following actions required for the DECD grant for the proposed Norwalk Community Recreation Center at 98 South Main Street. Whereas the state of Connecticut, through the Department of Economic and Community Development, is authorized to extend financial assistance to the city of Norwalk for the development of the proposed Norwalk Community Recreation Center at 98 South Main Street. And whereas it is desirable and in the public interest that the city of Norwalk make an application to the state of $1,200,000 in order to undertake the Norwalk Community Recreation Center Development Project. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the city of Norwalk, 1, that it is cognizant of the condition and prerequisites for the state financial assistance imposed by the state of Connecticut, Department of Economic and Community Development, DECD, and 2, that the filing of an application for state financial assistance by the city of Norwalk in an amount not to exceed $1,200,000 is approved. And 3, that Harry W. Rilling, Mayor, City of Norwalk, is authorized to execute and file such application with the Connecticut Department of Economic Development, DECD, to provide such additional information to execute such other documents as may be required to execute an assistance agreement with the state of Connecticut for financial assistance, if such an agreement is offered, to execute any amendments, decision, and revisions thereto, and to act as the authorized representative of the city of Norwalk, including all documents relating to the implementation of the project. I would like to move that item and again say a few words.
You have the floor.
Yes, so while the action here is essentially executing this grant, I thought that we would want to highlight the Norwalk Community Recreation Center. This has been a project that we have seen great hope and great disappointment, and now we are finally moving forward with a project that will benefit the community. And so I'd just like to turn it over to Alan Lowe to discuss the project and give us some details about it.
Mr. Lowe?
Good evening, I'm a member of the Common Council. I'm Alan Lowe. Yeah, this project been going on for a number of years. The city got this property back partially from South Norwalk Community Center probably back in 2015 or so. And since then, we issued RFP and we received one proposal, but through the years, we tried to make it work and it didn't work out for a number of different reasons. And I didn't want to go too much into that, but finally last year, the city came up with the idea to do a Norwalk Community Recreation Center. And from then we kind of be assembling funds for this project. Right now, we have 4 sources of funding. One is for ARPA funding, about $5.4 million, I believe. There's $1.2 million coming from other city account. And also there's 1.2 coming from the DECD grant and about 1.7 to $2 million coming from HUD, which is a federal funding. So we're putting this funding package together, and we have done some very initial cost estimates and design. We didn't hire an architect; it's really pro bono services. So those design and numbers are still very preliminary. Based on those numbers, we are projecting that we will probably need around $2.5 million more. So that's being requested by Recreation and Parks Department as part of the upcoming capital budget process. The building basically is about 22,000 square feet. The proposal is to kind of renovate the building and put a new facade in the front and also add a gymnasium in the back of the building. As such, in the back of the building, the portion of Ryan Park still had contaminated soil. Or let me change that. It's actually not contaminated, it's actually polluted soil. That's how it's defined. So there will be some additional remediation costs, capping and all that stuff that needs to be done. So again, we are projecting the total project is going to be 12.5 million dollars or so. I think it is. I forgot. In any event, so this project has a very expedited timeline. The reason being the ARPA funding has a requirement to be contracted for the services by December 2024. So we are right now, in fact, tomorrow we are doing an interview with the architects. And then right after that, they will submit to Land Use Committee and Common Council for approval in January. At the same time, we'll be looking to issue an RFP for construction manager to do cost estimating. And to proceed, and then thereafter, the springtime to summertime, we're going to do design services and prepare construction documents and go out to bid in around September next year. After we get the bids back, we'll have to go for Common Council and for the final approval of a contract, so that we'll be in time for commitment of funds before December next year. The construction will probably takes around, which projected it will probably takes around 14 months or so. So I think, if I get this correctly, spring of 2026, I believe, would be our projected opening day, if I'm not mistaken in my math. I think that's a quick summary where we've been, what we're doing right now, and where we're going in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. Any questions for Mr. Lowe? Ms. McMurray?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have any questions. I just want to thank Mr. Stowers and Mr. Lowe for your work on this. I think it's no secret that I have been an advocate of community center. I would love to see more than one community center in the future. I'd love to see a public pool. I have big ambitions for us, and so any funding help we can get through grants and otherwise are much appreciated. And so I just want to thank you, and I can't wait to see what this looks like when it's all complete.
Further comments or discussion or questions? Ms. Young?
So as it's been said, that building has been empty a very long time in our community. Too long. And as my councilwoman said, thank you to Alan Lowe and to Robert Stowers, who really, when he came here, he really moved that forward. But know that folks in the community have been concerned. And one of the things, and I will say one of the things that I'm concerned about and I wanted to see is this not just be a building with rooms. We needed to have the best community center in South End. And hopefully that is what we get, and that's what we're pushing for. We need a state-of-the-art community center that everyone is able to attend. And I think that's what we're going to strive for. And so I'm happy to see this moving forward. I think you said 2026. It might be done. It's a little too long. It's a lot of waiting, but it's coming. And we're just excited about what this opportunity is going to bring for the community.
Mr. Wiggins?
I think this, once again, this is in my district. I can see it out my window. I think it's extremely important to have a community center. What I'm looking for is it to be inclusive. You know, when we think about this, how can a community be involved in the process of not only how it looks, but also who's working there? How can we get the community to be a part of that? It's imperative that we hire and we pick the individuals that's going to be running this from Norwalk. That's a part of this community. That's a long-time residents community. When we have projects like this, you know, the people that's from the community are the kids and the young people is more welcoming to faces they know. So I hope we can kind of push for that and, you know, keep that in our minds when we developing this project.
Thank you. Further comment or discussion? Mr. Burnett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to continue the accolades to Alan Lowe and to Robert Stowers, especially Mr. Stowers, because when he first came to Norwalk, one of the first things that he pointed out is that we did not have a community center, and he has the experience and the expertise and also the vision to make this happen. And he has seen the results of it, how it can be transformative to a community to have a vibrant recreation center. So I want to further, again, bring accolades to Mr. Sowers from, shepherding this work, and greatly looking forward to put shovels in the ground as we have done on several projects across the city, but this will be a highlighted one when we see the work starting for this recreation center.
Ms. Smith?
Yes, would just like to add my thanks to Alan Lowe and to Robert Stowers. I made my comments and thanked them so much during the Land Use and Building Management Committee. And I can't say it better than has already been said here, but I do just want to add my accolades.
Further, Mr. Seed?
Yeah, I just want to just tag along with the accolades. It's really exciting. It goes back to a long time ago when I was a kid. People were complaining about like the kids don't have anything to do. So this is really going to be exciting for the people in South Norwalk, but people in Norwalk altogether, because the kids should have something to do. I also do hope that we do allow certain organizations that have been utilizing that space for like things like Thanksgiving and Christmas to continue to utilize those spaces, because that is already a beacon of hope in that community, even with it being empty most of the year. So it's just really exciting, and kudos to everybody involved.
Further comment, discussion, or questions? Mr. Freyer?
I just want to make one comment as well, as that when I joined the BET back in 2017, this was an item that was continually coming up. And it was always, we were always very enthusiastic about it, but then we lose sight of the light at the end of the tunnel. So it's really gratifying to be here now and be able to cast a vote and go in the right direction. That it finally looks like we're going to spend a little bit more money, but it looks like we're going to have something that we can all be proud of.
Further comments, discussion, or questions? Seeing none, I agree. This is a long time coming. As Ms. Young mentioned, this building has been empty for way too long. It's a building that's situated in a location that can help so many people. Easy access, it's on the bus line, and it's incumbent upon us to make sure that that building is done in the right way, to make sure that it serves the community in the way that it should be serving. Give the activities to young people, have resources for the entire community, and make sure that it operates in a good way. So, and again, thank you to Alan Lowe and Mr. Stowers for spearheading this project. It's been a long time coming, and as I said, our group, we work hard, and we get things done. So, seeing no further questions or discussions, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. This is exciting. Thank you. Ms. Smith, I think we're at 9A and 9B.
Yes, we are. Thank you, Mayor. Authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with VAD Construction Corporation for the Animal Control Facility Improvement Project for a total not to exceed $248,892.50, funds available from account noted. And 9B, authorize the Office of Building Management to issue change orders on the contract for a total not to exceed $24,889.25. Funds are available from account number noted, and I would like to move those items and also speak to them.
You have the floor.
If I may. So the Animal Control Facility has received an extraordinary private gift of $331,741, and that is what they will be using these funds for. And we have Chief James Walsh here to discuss the project, give us a little view of what the needs were at the animal control facility and the work that you'll be doing. And thank you so much for joining us,
Chief Walsh.
Thank you, Mayor Rilling, Common Council member. Good evening. Yes, in February 2023, we received a very generous donation from the estate of Donna Gale in the amount of $331,000 for the sole purpose of renovation for the care and upkeep of the animal shelter. She was a steadfast animal lover in dealing speaking with her attorney, she was quite intent on having the money spent for the renovations. So in working with building management, there were several highlights that needed to be improved in that building. Renovations included a new roof, gutters, accessories, a door on the south side of the building, LED lighting in the dog kennel, painting of the kennel walls and floors with epoxy, a kitchenette for staff, hot and cold water faucet on the front and rear sides of the building, garage doors on the exterior kennels, acoustic panels on kennel walls for noise reduction, and HVAC equipment, boilers and air handlers, a replacement for the office space. One of the most essential parts of this renovation is the rear of the building. We're actually adding an extension to garage doors and fencing to allow the dogs that are stored there more room to run around and get them some sunshine. And they actually have an access way, and it provides a little bit better of quality while their stay is there. It did go through the RFP process, and VAD Construction Company was the low bidder at $248,892.50.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions for Chief Walsh or Mr. Lowe or anybody else, or comments? Ms. Najilsi Eichner?
I just wanted to briefly comment and thank our donor. It really is extraordinary to see the city be the recipient of such a large gift. And I really am grateful for someone who saw the need and stepped up and is really contributing to our community in such a way. And so I think it's really important to acknowledge what an incredibly generous gift that was for us to receive.
Further comments, questions, discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions?
I'm in favor. I'm sorry, I was late.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. I believe that brings us to item 7E1. Mr. Goldstein, I believe.
Yes, this is E1, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a contract with Rough Edge Collective, Inc. for the completion of the Monroe Street Underpass mural in an amount not to exceed $50,000. Account numbers noted. I'd like to move into that and speak to it very briefly.
You have the floor.
So just to give a little context, and I know this came up in the committee meeting we had on this last week. This is an expenditure that was approved in the capital budget. And it's part of the Art in Public Places program. This was the artists in Rough Edge Collective, Inc. It's two artists. Their names were MJ Lindo and Josh Lindo Lawyer. Were selected by the Norwalk Arts and Cultural Commission. With us tonight are Sabrina Gadesky, our Director of Business Development and Tourism, and Brian Katzber, the Chair of the Arts and Cultural Commission, to answer any questions anyone has.
Any further comment or discussion or questions? I think it's, by the way, it's going to look beautiful.
Yeah.
Going to really dress up the Monroe Street underpass.
Absolutely, and that's the designs are actually in the packet, and the perspective design actually looks really beautiful, and I know that there's an effort to continue working with the community on that design. And hopefully there will be some community input component to that as well.
Comments or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? So we have two opposed, Ms. Young and Ms. Dunn. Motion carries. I believe now that brings us to 7G, Community Services, Ms. Ayers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. G1, authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all agreements, documents, instruments, or amendments as may be necessary to extend contract for one additional year with Norwalk Acts located at 9 Mott Avenue, Norwalk, Connecticut, 06850 for the Norwalk Workforce Development Strategy Initiative with Community Service Department for a total amount of $100,000. Account noted. I would like to move it and speak to it, Mr. Mayor.
You have the floor, Ms. Ayers.
Thank you. It is a good place when we are able to extend contracts with local nonprofits that are seeking to address areas of great concern for all Norwalkers, and that is in the area of workforce development. This is a limited contract because we're only extending it for one time, but Norwalk Acts has really used this money that has been allocated for them to do this work and has done a marvelous work, and we should acknowledge the efforts that Norwalk Acts has made in establishing as well as promoting workforce development in the city of Norwalk. Here with us tonight, we do have our Chief of Community Service, Mr. Daniels, as well as a representative from Norwalk Acts that will speak and answer any questions if the committee has any. Mr. Daniels.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Councilperson Nicole, my chair for the committee. Just by way through the president, let me just introduce myself. I purposely wanted to be here in person, so then after this, you'll see me through the box. But it was important for me to be here today to introduce myself. I serve as your Chief of Community Services for our great city, Norwalk. In that capacity, I oversee the Health Department, and Deanna Demore is our Health Director. The Human Services Department, Anna Vivian Estrella is our Human Services Director, and our great library system led by Director Sherelle Harris. And so thank you. And I'm in my 5th year here. So thank you for letting me serve our residents. So as council indicated, this strategy was designed under President Biden's workforce development strategy through ARPA funding usage. And last year, I think it's important to note that in Norwalk, while we're kind of using these language post-pandemic, you know, in our departments, what we observed that there's still a lot of residents that haven't bounced back. And so we know, how do you get residents connected and working and contribute to society? And they need a good job, but not just a good job. And you'll hear Jesse, I'm going to turn it over to him. He's our lead partner. He's the expert, not me. But, you know, you'll hear Jesse talk about a livable wage job. And this funding is exactly what we intended to do. It's a private-public partnership. And I think it's important as we move to extending the contract, the city has the ability to help jumpstart initiatives. And sometimes we need to use city money to get things going. But as Council Nicole Ayers mentioned, that since year 2, Norwalk Act has been able to expand. And I think in your package, you'll see that they have taken the leadership to build sustainability. Because I want to make it clear, this is a one-time investment. But you can see where through our investment, they've been able to leverage additional dollars. And this is a citywide initiative. It's not per organization. It's looking at how can we ensure Norwalkers have the resources, the training. And then I'll close by saying this, and I'll let Jesse speak. You know, part of this strategy that many of you, the new council persons, don't know, one of the things that we really, with Mayor Rowland's support, is workforce development is huge to our region. And if you all know, many of you have been here, workplace is no longer here in Norwalk. And so through our strong advocacy and the department, part of this long continuum work is that workplace now is here in City Hall. They also hold office hours because it's important that, you know, we don't want our residents traveling to Bridgeport, and nothing against Bridgeport, and Stanford. So this is about a continuum of activities. What before you is to extend the contract so that Norwalk Acts can continue to look at and help us look at it from a broad perspective. We don't have the capacity, which is why these grants and these resources are important to rely on our partners to build the sustainability. And if I may ask Jesse to kind of speak to, because of these cities' investments, I would like Jesse to share. These are the things that have been happening. We welcome Jesse, Deputy Director of Norwalk Acts. Thank you.
Thank you, Lamont. Thank you, Mayor Rilling, and thank you to our Common Council for your support in our workforce development partnership with the City of Norwalk. So my name is Jesse Buccalo. I'm the Deputy Director for Norwalk Acts. I'm also proud to be serving and working in the community that I was born, raised, and currently live in. So we're facing a challenge here in Norwalk as it relates to workforce development. Nearly half our workforce, 48%, are employed in jobs that are making less than $42,000, which is the minimum wage based on the cost of living to afford basic needs here in Norwalk. Each year, for the last 5 years, 220 students, which is 30% of Norwalk Public School graduates, graduate and they don't go to college. And that's where we lose them in the data of, are they getting livable wage employment career pathways here in Norwalk? Of that 220 students, 80% of those students are students of color. So this is kind of a need of equity and the need to support the students in getting them into career pathways. So we're facing a big challenge, but our partnership with the city of Norwalk over the past year and a half has been incredibly successful. The city of Norwalk, Norwalk Public Schools, Norwalk Community College, nonprofits, many that are here, the Norwalk Chamber and our local business community are all connected to workforce development, but they've never been brought together in this way over the past year to tackle this challenge. A year and a half ago, the city's investment allowed us to hire a workforce development coordinator who has truly hit the ground running. So I'm going to share a little bit about the highlights of our past year and a half, and then just talk about where our work is going. So the role of this coordinator is really to strengthen connection, collaboration, and alignment between all the organizations that are focused on workforce development in Norwalk. Over the last year, we've launched a Norwalk Workforce Development Committee that has had over 50 participants at each of our quarterly meetings, representing various organizations, both here in Norwalk, our region, as well as our state. We've also had the opportunity to have a platform for Norwalkers to get connected to what's going on in the region, the state, through these quarterly meetings. We've launched a citywide workforce development newsletter that's had 9 monthly newsletters so far. We've shared over 110 resources about what is going on in Norwalk as it relates to workforce development. A big piece that I want to kind of highlight in the challenge is that there's a lot of good things happening here in Norwalk, but they've been siloed and disconnected and fragmented. So a big part of our work is about centralizing the efforts and coordinating them to make sure that we're getting into everyone at the same time. One of our strongest resources that we released over the past year is an interactive resource dashboard for case managers to work with residents in finding workforce development opportunities. It's on our website. You can take a look at it. It's linked in the proposal that we've shared. Over 50 programs are available to Norwalk residents right now, and the dashboard's been viewed over 700 times, and we've trained various organizations on how to use it, specifically the case managers, so they can work and use it with their clients. So many of those organizations, their full departments are using it. Now, when a resident comes to the community resource hub and they have identified a need as workforce development or employment, our community resource specialists or family navigators, now have an interactive dashboard that they can use to point folks in the right direction. The other piece that I would like to highlight is we spearheaded a Norwalk job board in partnership with the Greater Norwalk Chamber. It's on their website right now, and it's focused specifically on positions that don't require a 2 or 4 year degree. It's a localized job board, and in January 2024, we plan to do an aggressive marketing campaign to get over 100 jobs on it. So that's in the works right now. So with that being said, I just like to kind of close that Norwalk is now poised for new investments in workforce development based on the infrastructure we've created. And because of the investment and the partnership that's come from the city, Norwalk has now become a model for workforce development and collaboration in the state, because this has never been done before in this way. And so we're now at a turning point where there's more opportunities for Norwalkers, and they continue to grow. And this year 2 funding will allow us to manage the additional capacity that's needed to continue to shape and amplify our workforce strategy. So some of the things that we'll be focusing on is a large citywide marketing campaign and communications campaign to continue to get information to the high need populations in Norwalk. And another focus of our work is really to focus on finding funding opportunities for Norwalk organizations to tap into, both at the region and the state. Traditionally, Norwalk hasn't been tapped into those, and that's why Stamford and Bridgeport, many of those services that exist for workforce development, Norwalkers have to travel elsewhere. And so our focus is really on trying to create funding opportunities, especially collaborative funding opportunities, to make sure our organizations that are serving Norwalk residents are getting connected to them, and we can continue to amplify services for all our residents. So I'll pause there and give it back to Lamont.
What you don't see in your packet is the many organizations that Jesse referenced. If we were actually to tally what this $100 that I'm asking you all to approve tonight, the contract, that it's about more than about almost close to $500,000 in terms of Norwalk Chambers, services and resources, and we have the community college at the table. I think lastly, we're just really excited to be in this position. This is about systems and infrastructure. So this is not about funding programs. It doesn't mean that's not important, but we were very intentional around, we need to look at the system. Because you have these great programs, but if the system is fragmented, as Jesse pointed out, you'll have these different silos. So this investment from the city was intentional, looking around systems and policies and practices as it relates to workforce development. And then as Jesse noted, we will be encouraging them and inspiring them to, once we can get the system intact, let's look at programming so we can support the programs to get our Norwalkers up and ready to work. So thank you for that, and I'm available obviously for questions, and if you have specific questions for Jesse, I'll bring them back up here. You can help me answer some of the specificity of the work that they've been doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments? Mr. Wiggins?
I want to echo what Nicole said about, the work that Norwalk Acts is doing. Great work. I've, personally worked alongside a few of them when it comes to the workforce development. I think it's important, and the things that we're trying to accomplish in Norwalk when it comes to workforce development is important. But I do want to talk about the process of which these funds are being allocated. Last year it was also questioned how the funds was being allocated. Last year, I believe 23 organizations received ARPA funds. And my thing is inclusiveness. Like, how can we be, as a council, as a community, be more inclusive when it comes to, dispersing funds in the city of Norwalk? It's important to me because when you look at the 23 organizations that received the funds, about 2 of the organizations, and I say about for a reason, are Black and Brown led organizations. Chief talked about, the importance of systems. I think, funding systems is important, but, programs is equally important, because when you look at programs, these are individuals dealing directly with the individuals that's hurting and, suffering from the things that's happening in these communities. So, that's the only thing I'm really disagree with them on. But before you came, we had 2 individuals from the community speak to the process of which funds is distributed, because, if I'm not mistaken, these are 2 of the 2 organizations that haven't received any of these funds. Once again, I want to be clear. Out of 23, I would say 1, but 1.5 organizations, there was people of color, whether Black or Hispanic leadership, which means out of $2 million that was spent with the ARPA funds, about 100,000 went to Black and Brown leadership. So I think it's important for us to note that and I'm going to continue to fight for you organizations out here that's smaller, that don't get their just due and doing the good work, because I know the work that you guys are doing, and I don't want to just kind of like continue to push that to the side when we talking about other organizations that build the systems or whatever else they're doing. So with that being said, the question is for me, Chief, is going forward, because once again, I do think it's important for us to, have this workforce development, but going forward, it was, said last year that organizations would have an opportunity to apply. And I don't know if Norwalk Acts was applied or if it was a system to where, organizations can apply, but how would that look going forward for these organizations? Like, I wish you was here when they spoke, but that could apply for these funds, that's typically dealing with Black and Brown students.
Sure, I'll be happy to respond. I just want to bring to your attention, if you recall, that from the ARPA, Norwalk for the very first time launched our Norwalk mini grant program. It was specifically designed to support the smaller organizations so that they can start engaging and receiving grants for the city of Norwalk. This predates you. And I don't have the makeup of the demographics, but I feel very confident that if we were to do analysis on the, who received them, I think I will feel very proud that we address the specific need. And I have the list, but I don't know if it's appropriate to share them, but they're very, in my opinion, they are very grassroots, smaller nonprofits, which was designed. I think, in terms of the ARPA, that's something we're still figuring out. So I'm not prepared to speak that because I didn't know I was going to be asked that. But I can assure you, I've been here for 5 years. We were responsive, and the Norwalk mini grant program was directly a response. And for those that are watching, I remind folks that we publicize in the Norwalk Hour. We also publicize in our city's Facebook and media, social media, and I'm definitely open to entertain if there's other ways that we can promote and advertise these opportunities we're allowed. I'm open to, learn to see if there's other places that we can promote these funding opportunities because they were publicized in that manner.
So just because I don't feel like my answer was my question was answered. I'm very aware of the mini grants. The mini grants was the maximum $10,000, and we know when dealing with nonprofit organizations, dealing with Black and brown communities, $10,000 could get you but so far, right? So the reason why I'm highlighting ARPA because you have organizations getting hundreds of thousands, some life changing money to kind of like work on these initiatives. And the question was specifically of the process going forward, because last year it was said that, it would be 2 rounds of funding that you could be able to apply for. It wasn't guaranteed, not the same organizations that received it last year, but it's a process that, once again, I was promised last year that you will be able to apply. So, going forward with this ARPA funds, would, individuals that run in organizations rather, be able to apply for this ARPA like it was done last year?
Well, again, Councilman Wiggins, I am not prepared to speak on that because that's not what I was prepared to do, but I'm most certainly open to entertain your concerns as always and to speak to this. And we are looking at how we're going to restructure and look at the ARPA program, but I'm not prepared to address that because I didn't know that was a question that I needed to be prepared for.
Ms. Smith, I think you had your hand up.
Oh, yeah, I just, on a different note, I wanted to, Lamont, thank you for your presentation, and Jesse, thank you so much for the information you gave us here tonight. The workforce development, when you first launched this, I can't even tell you how happy I felt because of, teaching in our schools in middle school and high school. The incredible focus on college, and being there with the kids. Not everyone's meant to go to college, right? And not everyone wants to go to college, and we need a path for those kids, and they need that support. And so the work that Norwalk Acts has done, your cradle to career approach and commitment and the data that you use and share with Norwalk Public Schools. I mean, I just have so much respect for your organization, and I thank you so much for the work that you're doing.
Ms. Ayers?
Thank you. Just to support what my colleague has said, but also give a different perspective, I think it's important for all of us to understand ARPA is limited funding. ARPA is issued by the federal government, and after it's gone, it's gone. It's not an endless pool of funding that we can consistently dip in. And I think we need to be very mindful not to tie ourselves to the ARPA funding. There are possibly other funding that will be long-standing. One that just popped in my mind is what we're going to do with cannabis, where we can possibly find resources to allocate to smaller organizations, but this council has to do that work. And I understand when we see large price tags, it is normal to question and ask, but ARPA is limited funding, whereas something such as the cannabis and the sale of cannabis and those taxes that the city will get back is something that's going to consistently happen, that we may be able as elected officials to have a little bit more diversity in who we fund. So I do want to acknowledge that those persons that have come into the gallery this evening, we have heard them, but I don't want us to get bogged down with ARPA because it's gone. Like we have allocated all of ARPA. There's no more money for ARPA, but there are other funding streams that we may need to be spending some time to make sure they are allocated in a different manner.
Ms. Dunn, I think you had your hand up.
Hi, I'm kind of new here. I just want to say how much, just take this opportunity that I respect you enormously throughout COVID. You know, I'm in your Friday morning meetings.
Okay.
That if you guys haven't attended or viewed, they're incredible. The amount of organization that you've done and what you've done to change the quality of life for Norwalkers. I'm in recovery for I'm not in I'm the recovery. I'm the
My
recovery
social worker has said, "Thank you for sharing."
Maybe soon, but I am the recovery supervisor for the Red Cross for Connecticut. So when we have families or like whole communities that are burned out, it's been so helpful to me to say, gosh, this family needs, help with fair rent or something. And I know exactly who to send them to. And this family needs clothing or food. And you've really pulled together amazing people that are so impressive and able to help people. And you're amazing. I'm a big fan. Sorry. Thank you.
Further comment? Mr. Seed and then Mr. Freyer.
I just want to just speak, I'm in favor of the work that you guys are doing, and especially with Norwalk Acts. But I think what we heard from speakers is that these smaller organizations, they need help and they feel trapped because they try for these applications and they don't get it. So what I suggest is just maybe getting some help. I know it was talked about last time with the ARPA funds, with maybe providing the funds with like grant writers and different things like that, or training about that, but also just inclusiveness, because that's something that we heard. So I know that this might not be the conversation for this, but I think that's something that we have heard from the public today and council members. And I think that should just be something that we strive for going forward in the process. And I know that the mini grant was a direct recipient of that, but definitely just keep working for inclusiveness and help these small organizations that do need assistance so that they can become bigger organizations in the future, because they are doing great work for our kids.
Thank you. Mr. Freyer?
Yes, I just wanted to follow up on what my colleague, Ms. Ayers had to say, that ARPA money is not going to be there forever. Having said that, though, I'm very, very impressed with, I read all the material in the packet the other day, but I'm also very, very impressed with what Jesse Bucklow just mentioned about the synergy that he's building with all the other different organizations. And also to get their participation. I think that's where the answer is where the money is going to come from. We get different corporations and different organizations that are going to be able to contribute that. That's going to make up where our next ARPA money is going to come from. So I fully applaud what you guys are doing. You're doing a great job, and just keep it up.
Mr. Jielski-Eichner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just very briefly, I actually used to work with Strive Together cities in New York, and I really want to applaud. I think the model is a terrific one. I'm very grateful for the work Norwalk Acts is doing. And I think that there's a sense in which Norwalk Acts is here to help with a lot of the issues being raised by some of the smaller nonprofits. The goal of a Strive Together model is to figure out where everyone's piece of the puzzle fits together, and so that there's not duplication, there's not overlap, rather it's synergy moving everyone forward. And I know that Norwalk Acts has really been engaged in this work, and I hope that will continue, that, as we're considering how to support our smaller nonprofits, that there is a goal of making sure that the puzzle pieces are fitting together, that everyone's great work is being leveraged and highlighted and figured out how the specialties that that a smaller nonprofit brings can then help fill in gaps where the system is, so that we're offering our students and our families a complete system that meets everyone's needs. I think that's the real opportunity of this entire model, and the real chance to make sure that all of us are working together and leveraging everyone's specific talents and networks and neighborhood connections, right? That value is the thing that we need. And so I really want to emphasize that there is great value in funding the coordination work, because it is in doing so that we raise everyone together. That's the entire point of the model. And I've had an opportunity to see how incredibly successfully it can work in cities that have really struggled. And when you see a high school that is literally basically surrounded by a whole plethora of organizations, the actual, employers coordinating with the, specialists in the community on training on that particular subject, and the specialist, nonprofits that do the mental health support, and the specialist tours, and they're all coming together so that literally the entire network is wrapping around those kids and boosting them into the future they want. That's what we're working towards. And I think it's really incredible that we've started that process here. And I'm so excited to see it play out. So excited to sort of have this coordinating function, again, bring up the special skills that our smaller nonprofits offer as well.
Mr. Goldstein, then Ms. Smith.
I couldn't agree with what Councilwoman Jessica Eigner said, but I also want to seize upon, I think, an interesting point raised sort of jointly by Councilmember Ayers and Councilmember Seed about where other funding opportunities for smaller nonprofits emerge. And I think notably, of course, one of those is the municipal sales tax that will emerge from retail cannabis sales. And I know that's something, Chief Daniels, you're working on, are the guidelines of how nonprofits and others can apply for those funds. And I think an interesting opportunity here, and I think this is something that Councilmember Seed gave me the seed for. But in all seriousness, let me just say, yeah, just to say that perhaps applications for funds like this can be an opportunity, or there can be some sort of programming to help newer or nonprofits that are less experienced in the grant application and grant process to give them that opportunity. So I think that that's something, I know that's something you're working on.
Yeah, if I could just quickly, I mean, I don't want to belabor, I know we all want to go, I know I'm one of them. But I think I'll just say, I would welcome anyone an opportunity to come to us and talk, because we actually did do that.
Yeah.
For example, anyone who applied for the Norwalk Mini Grant, our partner right here in Norwalk, Fairfield County's Community Foundation, offered free technical assistance to write the grant.
Right.
So that did happen. We also, through the relationship with Norwalk Acts, the technical assistance services, I think, and I do believe there's always room for improvement, is how do we get the word out? And that's just a challenge, I think, everyone, how do you market this stuff to everyone? It gets to certain people. And I think my takeaway is just trying to figure out how can we ensure that when we launch initiatives and programs, all organizations get connected in here, because that's an amazing resource, and it can cost like $10,000-$20,000. But because of our partnership, they actually reviewed those who took advantage of it to review the grant. They provided an individual to walk you through it. I wish more of the organizations took advantage of it, but that's something that we have partnerships. And to your point, Councilman Sneed, we initiated and it was very successful, but we definitely would love to do it more and more and more, and encourage organizations to take advantage of this free resource because they're willing to provide that service.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Smith?
Yeah, essentially, that was what I was going to bring up, is that, after the first distribution of ARPA funds, when these questions were coming up, that was a program that was set up in response to those questions. And I also know that Norwalk Acts stepped up and did some outreach and was doing some work to bring in the smaller nonprofits and give them some help around that grant writing. So, and just at the Strive Together model, Nora, oh my, it's just incredible, the work that that can be done.
Yeah, it really is.
Mr. Burnett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just bringing the discussion back to the motion that's in front of us. This item indicates that we're extending the contract for one additional year.
Correct.
And the $10,000 is a one-time.
Not 10, it's 100.
100,000.
100,000.
Yes, you need to catch that.
I'll say 100 first.
That's 100. No, it's 100. It's not 10.
Correct. correction. Is a one-time.
Yes, sir.
Right. What's the plan beyond this?
Well, as noted in the documentation, you can see where, again, this is where the public and private partnership is critical. Because I see our investments is sometimes we are the jumpstart to start the engine. And so this is, for me, this is exactly what I would like to see. We can support you, but we'll jumpstart the engine, but you got to pay for the gas long term. And for us, why I'm asking your support, you can see that Norwalk Acts has eloquently displayed they're moving in that direction. They're finding the gas money to keep the car moving. Is in your literature, in your documents, you see where they've been finding additional funding beyond the 100,000 to sustain that. And that's exactly what we want to see.
Thank you for that.
So this is definitely a one-time funding allocation.
Great.
There's no more ARPA after this.
Mr. Wiggins?
Last comment, I know I'm kind of like a broken record, but to Ms. Ayers' point, this ARPA money is gonna run out. And like, we know that it's really, it's a temporary thing, but just how we kind of like jumpstart and, Norwalk Acts was still a small organization, but on a bigger budget than probably the organizations that's in the office, in the audience. But I just want to hit on and just kind of like continue to push. To me, it's about equity practices. Who's a part of, putting the funds out there? Is it, like making sure that the individual, last time we talked about this, we talked about explicit bias and all of these things. So when love the work that you're doing, obviously love the work that you're doing, Jesse, at Norwalk Acts. Being a part of it is great, but the process is the problem. And I think that's kind of what I'm hitting on. When we talk about the cannabis, money, like it's happening in Stanford already. And, with United Way and all these other different organizations coming together and dispersing those funds, and specifically is for those areas that's hit on the war on drugs. So, when that money do start rolling in and other funds start rolling in, I think that's a state thing. So I don't even know how that would even work with us as a council, but how can we just make sure the process is equitable and, the communities that's hard hit by the issues that we talk about is receiving the funds, and the Black and brown leadership of these communities is, heading these initiatives. The reason why, because they're stakeholders in their community. They live in these communities. They got to walk past these kids every day, or, families every day. It's extremely important that we support and we fund, Black and brown leadership in our communities.
Further comment or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Ms. Shanahan?
Thank you so much. Have a good evening, everyone.
Ms. Shanahan?
I'm ready. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Ms. Shanahan. Time is approximately 9:18. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? We are adjourned at 9:18. Thank you all for your time and all the hard work that